Hi, it's Wednesday night, so you know what that means. That means we get to go live. So I am Nicole with Equally Creative by Nicole, and I'm here to share some creative cards with you. Let's see. So I actually have a picture first of, let's see, of the card that I shared online. This is my January Valentine's Day card that I shared. And if you would like the PDF tutorial, just go to one of my sites and follow to the bottom, click join my email group or email newsletter, and you will get this in tomorrow's newsletter. So that is one change that I have made this year for 2024 is to send out my newsletter the day after the live so that you have time to go sign up for that email newsletter so you don't miss anything. I call myself the crazy stampin' lady. I love to overbook myself and go a little nutso. I like to put lots of things on my plate. I'm learning. I'm getting better. You know, I'm 48, almost 49, and I'm still learning how to take care of myself. So I am sharing with you all of the things that I am the crazy stampin' lady about. So anyway, join my email list, grab the PDF of this. You'll get at least one a month. I'm trying to do one a week, but we'll see that whole plate thing, right? So that is that Valentine's card. So tonight is all about Softly Sophisticated. And that is a level 2 combo bundle item that is available right now with Celebration. Celebration is just literally a freebie. You order, you buy, you get free stuff, right? So here is the stamp set, and we will be using every single one of these. And then we have this beautiful, ooh, there's my ring light. This beautiful embossing folder that is used on almost all of the cards tonight. We will also be using the softly stippled paper that I shared in a previous post as well as in photo form. So if you want to see what that looks like, just go back a couple of posts. I shared all of the Celebration papers there. Again, softly stippled is one of the ones we are using this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. I do have a water painter out, and I pulled this out, but I don't know that I'm going to need this. I'll probably just use the lid of the ink pad. So I'm going to set this aside off camera, and we will go ahead and get started. So our first card is a You're in My Thoughts card, and this card has some floral that you are going to fussy cut. We've got an inside to our card. We've got a card base, and we have an embossed layer. This is that Softly Sophisticated embossing folder. You can see that detail. It's really kind of cool. It almost looks like a stitched on embroidery kind of on paper look, except that it's not actually holes. It's really, really cool. Hopefully you'll get to see that. Hi, Karin. I'm so glad you could join me live tonight. Wasn't sure how many people would get to follow and join live. Oh, I do need to grab my Stampin' Seal so I can go ahead and adhere my first layer on the outside, and I'm going to go ahead and stick that inside layer down. And I am just centering this first layer right on here. And let's put that inside layer. And I do this on my lives just to kind of get things out of the way, because after a while you end up with a whole lot of stuff. Hi, Brian. Long time no see. Thanks for joining. So this is one of those softly stippled papers, reversible, obviously. Most of our DSP is reversible, which is fabulous because there's always what we call an A side and a B side. And you never know which one you're going to love the most. Sometimes it's that first one, and sometimes it's the one that is the subtle surprise, right? Like a sleeper movie. Hey, Brian, I'm doing really well, actually. Trying to hold it together and not drown in this Louisiana rain. So, how about you? Are you guys dry over there? Let's see. All right, so we are going to use Wild Wheat, which is one of our 5 in colors for 23 to 25. We're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment. I am going to do it towards the right-hand side of this die cut piece, and I did pull these out. So some of our pieces tonight come from the Stylish Shapes dies, and you can see lots of options for both images to be stamped on the cutouts as well as the sentiments. So that is such a multi-purpose, useful die cut set. Okay. So I'm doing You're in My Thoughts. And then we're going to use this color again, and we're going to make this flower right here. So we're going to use this color for all the leaves. And I'm looking for them because they're a little bit everywhere. Here we go. So I've got just a scrap for this because I'm going to fussy cut this out. I could have used one of those squares or circles, but we're going to fussy cut this. And I brought a surprise for y'all, okay? So this card has one little pop of color. The rest of the cards have the same 4 colors that are used repetitively. So if you only have a few colors and you've got a couple of our Stampin' Right markers, you can use this to add color to a stamp. So it only works for the Stampin' Right markers. You can't do this with our blender pens, but you can with the markers. And you can order the markers. I prefer to grab the markers in sets in colorways. It makes it a bundled price that way, a little bit more affordable. But I think you can. Don't quote me. We used to be able to order them individually, but I'm not 100% sure if you can do that these days. So I'm using the thick side. It does have a thick and a thin, as indicated by the stripe on the marker. And I'm just using that thick side, which is more like a paintbrush. And I'm just going to kind of color this in. And I want to make sure I get the whole thing colored. And it's okay if this little one over here kind of dries. We're going to do the Stampin' Up method, which we all laugh about because we call it huffing. No, we're not doing drugs. We are just using the moisture from our breath to re-moisten our stamps so that we can use this to stamp. Just like that. That's what huffing is, right? All right, so I'm going to line this up so my little flower and the big flower are right in position. And I will push this down and lift that up, and you can see the detail in there from the marker. So grab a few of our Stampin' Right markers, and you have a variety of colors, right? So now I'm going to quickly take my trimmers, the little snips, and I'm going to fussy cut this so that we can finish our assembly of this card. Oh, I see Brian said he is flooded, and we kind of are pretty soggy over here. If you haven't been watching the weather, that line of storms just really came through today, and I was soaking wet on my way to work. Left my raincoat at work because it wasn't pouring when I left, but I had my umbrella, so that was helpful. So I have to go grab my raincoat in the morning. But even with a raincoat, I was pretty drenched. I think it's just a little water resistant and not really rainproof. I know my friends in Florida know what I'm talking about too, because you guys get a plenty amount of rain over there. All right, so I've got everything is cut out and ready to go. I am going to use some adhesive for this part, and I'm going to raise up my flowers on dimensionals. So I've got my glue nearby. Because I'm putting it on an embossed piece, I want to make sure that it's really going to stick. So I like to use the glue frequently on an embossed piece if it's a flat layer. If I was going to put this up on dimensionals, it would stick just fine without any extra oomph, but that is my preferred adhesive for going on to things with texture. All right, so let me spin this around. All right, so I'm going to put my dimensionals on here. And having these colored just helps me not forget to pull one off. Otherwise, I'm looking around at the shine to see if they're all shiny or not. And I'm just going to put this on here. Put it up high enough. There we go. And then I've got a little bit of the in color jute trim, and it likes to be curly even when you do the little trick, but it loosened up a little bit. So I'm just going to make a bow, and then I'll trim the ends once it's on the card. There we go. And I am going to use my mini glue dots for that, because it really, once you become a demonstrator, you just use the best product for the job. So you could use a dot of glue on here, and I'm just kind of rolling that glue dot on here so that it'll stick nicely to the bottom of this bouquet. And then I'll just trim these tails. Oh my gosh. Karin, I don't know if I like you right now. Like, I might be a little green with envy because it is really, really disgusting yesterday and today. And definitely flooding nearby for sure. All right, so I am using, in addition to the 23 to 25 in color jute ribbon, I'm also using the in color dots. They're not glass dots, they're just dots. So as you can see, I really like them. I have multiple layers of them in here. I really, really, really like the gray ones, the Pebbled Path, I think is the name. We're going to use that tonight. And so I keep running out of Pebbled Path. They should have just made a sheet of each color just for me. So we're going to throw some little bit of color on here with our Take-A-Pick tool. If we can actually have some putty on the end here. So be careful with your Take-A-Pick tool, because if you twist too hard, guess what happens? You end up with a string of putty, and then I have to throw half of it away because it doesn't go back in, just like toothpaste. They don't go back in. Okay, so here is card number 1. And I will say I have an affinity for tonight's cards. They are all just really gorgeous. All right, so card number 1, let me put this aside. And let's see, we get to be a little artsy with card number 2. We're going to use 3 of our colors here. So we're going to use some Crumb Cake, some Pebbled Path for the sentiment, and Pool Party. And so let's share what this looks like. So this is a 4 1/4 by 11, just thick, basic white cardstock. We have a layer that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is Pool Party, and it is also embossed with that beautiful, softly sophisticated embossing folder. Just go ahead and glue this down. I don't need an inside with a white card base. We are going to cover this up completely. And then we get to be fun, fun, fun. Okay, so in your kit, you're going to have one of these little punches, and this is where you're going to use Pebbled Path, and I really appreciate you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on here. Close that for now. All right, so I'm going to set these two pieces aside because we're going to get a little crafty here. We're going to use our water painter, and we're going to kind of create a little what I call a beach scene. So we're going to do some sand at the bottom, a little bit of ocean at the top. So one way to do this, if you don't have refills, or even if you do have refills, is to take your stamp pad and have it closed, and it kind of wiggles when you do this, and so you're just kind of pushing so that they're squishing against each other, and you're getting some ink on the lid. So you can see there's a little bit of ink here, and I'm going to do that again because I want to make sure I have enough ink on there. There we go. Now you can see a little bit more. Now I'm going to leave this open, and I'm actually going to cheat just a little bit, and I'm going to spritz with, remember I said to have a handy dandy little spray bottle with you? Let's see, we're going to set this like this so it doesn't wobble everywhere, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water to that tray so that my water painter doesn't have to do quite so much work, and I don't want it to get messy at all. So I'm just swirling this around in here, and I could touch the edge of my pad if I didn't feel like I had enough ink in here, but I do want it light. So let's see, we can add more if we need to, and I'm just kind of eyeballing. I'm going to do the bottom half, and this is really super light, so I'm actually going to close it up. I probably put too much water, but this is real life, real life. All right, here we go. And we'll just add some more of this. I'm going to squeeze this. So this is my sand. Okay. Now I also like to keep a microfiber cloth handy, and I just kind of squeeze the water out of the water painter and just kind of brush off any of that residual ink. And then I'll close this up because we're done with this color. But we are going to do the same process with the Pool Party. So squishing that on there. Whew, lots of ink this time. Tiny little bit of water. I'll put this back here. All right. And then I'm going to go up from there to make that water base here. This This is where you get to be a little artsy. You can do it kind of as high up as you want. If I want to, I could add a little bit of extra water, water it down a little bit more. It's going to make it even lighter so that it gets kind of an ombre effect going up. All right, so that is that little background. And again, excess off, and just to make sure I had enough water getting that ink off, I sprayed it down and just added that. Okay, and then it has this handy dandy lid. That snaps right on. All right, so I can close this up. These are water-based inks, so even though I have put water on them, it does not ruin the ink at all, doesn't ruin the pad. All right, so we're going to use our pebbled path, and we're going to stamp one of our flowers in this. So we're actually going to use these flowers and this stem. We're doing it in the same color. And before I even do that, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my fancy embossing tool because I want to dry this, because otherwise this stamp is not going to show up very well. And if you were with me last week or watched last week's video, you saw how much I love the Glass Mat Studio. Excuse my head. Okay, so I can use this directly on here. It does not damage this. And I have 2 speeds on my heat emboss tool. And the first one is just for this purpose, kind of drying setting some ink. So it really helps with that process going a little bit faster, because if I were to try to stamp on here, it would kind of bleed a little bit and not look so crisp and beautiful. And we really don't want that. So I'm just going to briefly dry this and make sure that our stamp is going to go cleanly on here. I did not use watercolor paper. This is regular basic white cardstock. And it's going to have plenty of adhesive to kind of keep it nice and flat, but I will heat both sides just to kind of keep it as flat as possible. I think that will do. All right. So now we can go back in with our pebbled path, and we're going to do, like I said, we're going to do the stem and leaves as well as the flowers in this color. I'm trying to think where I want this. Okay. And now I need our little flowers, and we're going to do them in the same color because we want this nice contrast. And when you're doing these, you're going to kind of look and you're going to match these little edge pieces here with the flowers. So for me, I have to twist to make these line up. All right, there we go. Now I am going to take one of my crumb Crumb Cake Blends. And I'm going to give it a little bit of speckling for interest. And I do this extremely lightly because I don't want to damage the tip on this marker. But I love the interest that it gives. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a quick wipe to make sure I don't have that everywhere. All right, so now we have some layers to get ready here. I think that's it. Yeah. All right, so this is going to get glued down to this. And I want to take those wrinkles out, so I'm going to make sure I just have glue across the whole thing. But remember, a little bit goes a long way, so this isn't on very thick. And I'm centering it on this pebbled path base. And then pushing that down to give it a nice, even layer here. Now, if you have our in color jute, you can tie some of that around here. Again, this has been one of my favorite colors, so I am out of it. So I have substituted one of the other free items. So your kit would come with the pool party ribbon. And you can make a bow, or I'm just going to tie a knot and leave a really pretty end here. So almost like a faux bow. And then I will trim these ends. On the diagonal there. So we have that. And this is going to go onto our card base. And we are going to use dimensionals here. I'm going to put 1/2 on this ribbon just to hold that ribbon in place. Can hear my child in the next room over. She's got some heated conversation going on. Okay, so I'm going to center this, but I think, so the original design is centered, but I'm going to offset it so that my sentiment has enough room. I'm just going to set that aside for a second. So because I am going on a layer here that is up on dimensionals, I'm going to use 2 dimensionals doubled here. Or I'm sorry, not doubled. I'm using 2 dimensionals on this layer and a dab of glue on the other side so that it will be at the same level as this and it will not fall apart. Hopefully. Fingers crossed, right? Just gonna lift this a tiny bit. So push that down. My bow is in place. And now I will add my embellishments, which I have to dig out and find some more gray ones. Pebbled Path, because they have been my favorites. Oh, and here's what I was talking about earlier. Let's see if I can get that in the camera. It doesn't want to show very well, but I basically have this goop coming out. So I try to save it by just kind of smushing it around, but sometimes it doesn't always come out that way. Sometimes I hesitate because I'm going, is this the best spot for this? My brain just doesn't want to be so standard all the time. All right. There is card number 2. Ta-da! Got to be a little artsy here with card number 2. Okay, I'm going to take a second because I need to clean up some of my stamps here. So I do have my chamois ready. This way I can reuse all of these because we're going to use those flowers again for sure. Don't forget, if you're here, to let me know what your favorite card is at the end. If you're watching the replay, let me know you're catching me on the replay. If you would like a kit, you can just copy and paste that link in the description. I do believe it's in both Facebook and YouTube. So here's card number 3. There's a couple of tricks to show you here. Okay, so we have crumb cake. Favorite color, right? One of those most often used colors. So that is our card base. This is the 4 1/4 by 11. Again, we used that beautiful embossing folder. And I like to lose things while I'm doing other things with them. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way so I don't lose it on the floor somewhere. All right, this is our softly stippled paper. Again, that fabulous designer series paper that is double-sided. I am basically using all the floral sides today. This is definitely a flowery kind of set of cards. I'm just centering that in there. And then we've got our sentiment to put on here, and then our flowers. So we're going to use our pebbled path and our wild wheat. So wild wheat is our sentiment, which is hello there. And these clear blocks will make it wonderful for me to get this directly onto this little flag. So you can see that went like I couldn't have planned that better, right? And then we can close this one up. We're actually going to use this little guy again in a second as well. So we're going to start at the bottom, and we're going to do 2 layers of the stem because we want it to kind of cascade up or down. It's easier to start at the bottom with this part. And I am going to start and kind of go down this way and then again that way. I say that, but I want to make sure I'm not going to be able to fit both of them as comfortably as I would like. So I'm going to do this one over just off a little bit, so that I can get those flowers on there. So now I'm going to use this little flower one, and we're going to use that pool party stamp and add these flowers. Move that out of the way. And if you remember, you're just going to kind of ink those up and twist and turn until they line up. And this one has this little flower way at the tippy end. So that is what I try to line up. And then there's a second tiny flower right here. So if you line those two pieces up, it works out really well. So now let's see if we can line those two flowers up. A little bit of overlap, not too bad. All right, so there's those flowers. And then we're going to layer this onto our pebbled path backdrop here. Okay. And then again, this was one of my second favorite colors, so I have swapped out this jute ribbon for the braided trim. Let me see. I forget the name of this one. Wavy trim. It's just wavy trim. So you can do one of two things. You can tie a bow with this, and it makes a beautiful bow. Okay, so you can do a bow like this, or you can actually pull these apart and you can tie a bow with multiple strands of this. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so that'll be 2 pieces. That would be all 4 pieces. This is just the little braided piece down the middle. You could do just this as a bow, but I'm going to do these 5 pieces together. So it's going to be this frou-frou-y multiple layer bow. Again, it's fairly girly, but who doesn't love a nice bow? Now, if you're better than me, you will have caught all of those layers together. Either way, you can pull different pieces so that they line up correctly. There we go. Got to find the short ones. All right. So and before I put this on, I want to put my flag on here. It does make a little bit of a mess. All right, so let's layer this on and get our bow put on. Okay, so I'm putting this towards the left-hand side, so I still see plenty of that DSP. And then I'm going to put my sentiment on here. I am only using one of these layers, and then I will do my dot of glue. You could use your Stampin' Seal right here as well. You could stick your finger to it like I do. Sometimes it's helpful. Okay, and I'm gonna I'm gonna do this right in the middle. We're gonna cover up that little conjunction here. A little junction, not a conjunction. And then we are gonna add this frou-frou-y bow right there. And I'm gonna use more than one of these glue dots to make sure I get all the little pieces here. So one, and put one a little further down. All right, these glue dots are super sticky. They work for so many things. All right, so see, I'm going to do it right on the edge here, and then I will trim those little tails. Kind of cleans that up just a little bit. And then we're going to add our fun dots, and I think that I'm wearing all of that fuzz from this little thing. All right, so let's see. I'm only going to use one little gray dot on here, and then I'm going to shock and wow everybody and put some bright dots on there. Let's see, I'm going to do another yellow one because they're fun. I am going to stick with my rule of threes and do it like that. Okay, so here is card number 3. Ooh, thank you, Donna. I'm glad you could make it. I'm sorry I wasn't available on Zoom at 6 p.m. That cracked me up just a little bit. If you want to join us and craft with us next week, we will be on Zoom Tuesday night, the 30th at 6 p.m. You can do whatever craft you want. You do not have to work on cards. You can sew if you want, embroider, have a margarita. Just come and hang out. The one time you're early. Girl, you were a week early. But, I mean, it made me feel warm and loved that you wanted to come and party, you know, and by party, I mean stay in your pajamas at home and craft. All right, here's our last card that we're going to create. This one uses a bunch of layers. I say a bunch, probably the same as the rest, but this one uses our scalloped contours for part of the second layer. So let's go ahead. It's actually pretty easy, but we are going to have some layers to finagle here. So I have a card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, fold that down. I have one of our softly stippled designer series layers at 4 by 5 1/4. That's going to give us a little white border, and you'll see that there are lots of little white borders on here. It makes it very pretty. I love the matting effect that it does. Okay, so got a little piece for the inside. I'll go ahead and get that stuck down and out of the way. I didn't decorate all the insides this time, even though I'm working on it. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. We have this layer right here is that scalloped contour. You can see it has that beautiful stitched mark. I need a non-alcoholic margarita, Donna. I need to enjoy one with you. Maybe I'll put Lynn on that for this weekend. She can create that. So I'm putting this scalloped contour layer down, centered, and then we'll set this aside. We're going to do a similar stamping effect like we just did on the last one, and we're going to go back and forth. We're going to do the leaves and then the flowers, then the leaves, and then the flowers. So I'm opening both of my ink pads to do that. And we're going to use the hello there for our circle. And all of these die cuts for this came from those 2 sets. So if you'll recall, I said this one has like everything. So we had these and these came from here. So it's just so So easy when they put together such beautiful dies in one package. All right, so we have hello there. And we will set this one aside. And now we're going to do our big flashy leaves. And we're going to start off at the bottom here with those big flashy leaves. And then we've got the big florals. I'm just going to kind of scrape this around. This is the one I added that water to earlier. So I want to make sure I mix it in. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and put this flower down. And then I will do our leaves again. Actually, I don't see any residual, but I could have wiped it off already on my card base. Nope. Doing good tonight, doing good. All right, so then we're just going to kind of throw this one in there as if they're kind of sort of connected. And then we will add our second layer of flowers. All right. Woohoo! Look at that. It came out very nice. I like when things work out on a live video. Okay. We are done with all the stamping. So now we will assemble this. You can see how it stamps a bit dark, but it's going to dry much, much lighter. This layer is going to go up on dimensionals, and we are going to squeeze it inside those stitching lines. And just give it a little layer. This is where I was saying all of those layers look like matting on a photo frame, and I just really love it. It's one of my favorite styles for sure. So plain, extraordinary. So you can really, really elevate the look of your cards in a very super simple way. Love it. All right, we're going to put our hello there on here. Again, I need to add one of my layers is going to be off to the side. And I found it easier to go ahead and put it on here first. And then I'm just going to add my dot of glue to the right side of my piece. And then I will stick this right there. Okay. And then again, I don't have any more of this right now. So I substituted with the same color, but this is our flat ribbon, our flat woven ribbon. And again, mini glue dots. If you've ever done a project with glue dots, you know how sticky they are. Actually, the flowers on the wall behind me have giant glue dots. So, you know, when I decide to do something different, I have no idea how I'll get those glue dots off. So, and that was just like a single knot tied in there. And now, yes, what am I going to add? I'm going to add these beautiful, beautiful pebbled path dots on here. This is the trick, right? Trying to figure out, I'll balance it out and put it on that side. All right, so that was card number 4. Remember, all the work is done for you. If you want to make these beautiful cards, you just need a stamp set, some inks, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is done for you. If you don't have this particular stamp set, obviously you can use what you do have. You know how to order through me if you would like, and that is it. Next week will be a heartfelt hellos celebration item as well. So that one is, I do believe, free with a $50 purchase. So you don't have to go all out for that one. And it's just the stamp set. But I will show you 4 fabulous cards or projects with that. I haven't created all of them just quite yet. And I look forward to sharing that with you. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, help me get the word out. Word of mouth is still the absolute best marketing that you can give to anybody. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to crafting with you more virtually or in person. And that's it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And Donna, I will see you next week. Karen, I will see you next week. I know at least the 2 of you will be on our Zoom. If you would like to join our crafting Zoom where we just hang out and chat and do our own thing in our homes, let me know and I'll get you the link so that you can join us. All right, I'll see you all next week. Stay dry and warm. Bye.